Well, that was brilliant. Such a good talk. I'm just going to mute all the lovely people for our next panel. Have I got everyone? So next is a lovely group that I've met through Instagram. I feel like I know them or I want to know them. They're in retail, creatives, like really great within the industry. And Mirka's going to take the lead in this and lead a really interesting conversation. So over to you, Mirka.
Well, thank you, Amanda. And hey, good morning to those who are just waking up, and good night to those who are with us in the middle of the night. Mari actually is sleeping, so we'll let her do that because it's midnight for her. So I'm just gonna basically tell who we have, probably introduce myself too, because that's the one that I'm forgetting. So I'm Mirka Markkula. I'm from Helsinki at the moment. At the moment I'm on furlough, but basically I'm a store manager of a men's heritage denim boot store here called Pinkomo. Oh, we have Mari now. I've been basically working with denim for most of my life in one way or another, starting with women's denim and now with men's. I have pretty amazing women here with me. Let's start who I'm seeing the first, Miriam Parkman from Stockholm. She's correct me if I'm telling this wrong. She's a weaver and an artist and author of a book about what she does. She's also putting out a collaboration collection with Indigo Ferro Denim, the first women's models that they have, proper models. Welcome, Miriam. And then we have Harmony Hendricks from Amsterdam, owner of a CKX Studio clothing store, photographer, pretty much of a vintage slinger of extraordinaire. We have Kerstin Nule from Stockholm, co-owner of Second Sunrise, author of 2 books, two at the moment. Yeah, she's like the crafty goddess of the world. And then we possibly have Mari Jacobson from Oakland. She works in Standard and Strange, and we have a brilliant, knowledgeable women here. Ladies, if you want, you can introduce yourself more and just tell a little bit, and we can dive into our questions, what we had.
Who should start?
Yeah, you can start.
Should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. I never used Zoom before, so I'm a bit confused, but I think it's going to be good. My name is Kerstin Neumüller. I'm here in Stockholm, as you said, Mirka, and I run Second Sunrise together with my colleague Douglas, as you said. I don't know what information is important about me. I came from like the traditional textile craft world, and I met Douglas 4 or 5 years ago, and he came from the denim world. So I stepped into the store he was working in and asked if he wanted to dye with indigo with me, and he said, "Yeah, I just ordered a starting kit." And we started doing that, and eventually we bought the store together and wrote a book on indigo together, and then everything just basically ballooned from there. And here we are 3 or 4 years later, running the store, and we've actually just brought in our colleague Johan, who's going to start working on a regular basis with us. So we're really happy with that.
So, Miriam, do you want to take the next one?
So my name is Miriam Parkman, and I am from northern Sweden from the beginning, but I live in Stockholm, and I've lived here for quite a few years now. And I am, I would say, from the vintage world. I started wearing vintage clothing, so like mostly 40s, 50s, but some 20s, some 60s when I was 17. So that is 13 years ago now. And so I've just been one of those crazy collecting nerds and in that whole world of dancing and all of that. And I'm also a weaver, so a hand weaver, and I do that professionally for a living. And I've done that for a couple of years now. I went to a school here in Stockholm called Handarbetets Vänner, which translates to Friends of Handicraft. It's a weird name, but it's very old. So that's where I started and studied weaving for 3 years. And yeah, I kind of got into denim through vintage, and I got to know Kerstin and Douglas and some other people. And I recently wrote a book about hand weaving together with my colleague Ariana Funk, who's also a professional hand weaver. And so yeah, my approach is very much from the textile side, but also with this very big and passionate vintage umbrella on top of it.
Good, thank you. Harmony, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, so I'm Harmony. I own the store CKX Studio in Amsterdam. I think I have a similar background as Miriam. I started wearing vintage age 13, I think, when I went to high school, more through subcultures like punk and rockabilly, rock and roll, rhythm and blues. And yeah, I collect a lot. Not only clothes, but also cameras, small stuff. And that is also how I got into the denim world. I started to shop, combining the two, the denim, the workwear with the blueprints, which is an old photographic technique that I do, because I have a background in arts and photography as well. And that is sort of how I got where I am today.
Cool, thank you. We have some possible difficulties in Oakland, but we'll let Mari jump in when it works. We had some interesting topics that we wanted to talk about just where we come from and how does that affect us in our point of view when we work in the industry and how we see everything. For myself, it was sportswear, it was technical wear, it was skateboard, streetwear. And when you work with technical wear, with basically different layers of plastic on a fabric, you learn how to appreciate the things that work and the things that don't work. And I've always been fairly old school in my way of thinking, so classics have been close to my heart. And that's where I kind of found my way to what we're doing right now. What has it been for you guys? You told about it a little bit when you were introducing yourself and telling about yourself, but what has been the biggest inspiration or something like an aha moment for you when you thought that, okay, this is the thing for me and this is what makes me interested in, for example, in this case, obviously denim? You wanna, Miriam, you're next to me, so do you wanna jump in?
Wow, well, when you start as a teenager, it's such a nerdy, like it's a nerdy phase, and you go so all in. Yeah. So I remember, like the first thing what comes to mind is just the realization that I wanted to dress differently and that I wanted something else than people from my small town up north. And I think that's just sort of continued. But then now that I'm 30, it's a different way. And then like the denim thing kind of came in as a new thing that would be interesting. Yeah. I'm still waking up, so I need to think it over a little more.
Did you see denim as anything special when you were growing up, or was it like it's basically become a thing in your life that is just important in some way now, more than when you were growing up?
I mean, that is actually a interesting question, because when I went to like high school, there was like 2 brands you could wear, and if you didn't wear those brands, it's like you're out. And I think denim has changed so much since then, not only for like high school kids, but like in general. And it's not only interesting to wear one thing anymore.
Yeah.
And it can be cool to wear something else. So I feel happy for kids those days. I think they have a bit better situation.
Yeah. How about Harmony? How do you see your background? You've done a lot of things too. You've gone from many things to where you are now. Do you want to kind of like tell how those things have?
I think in regards to the denim parts, as Miriam, like before, it maybe wasn't as important, or you just didn't think about it. You were just looking for certain shapes or vintage styles that you were after. And now there's this other thing that sustainability is a big aspect for me as well. So I only wear vintage, or the brand has to have some kind of sustainable aspect to it. And in those like rock and roll styles, like everyone wears unwashed denim, the raw denim. So that's in itself sustainable, but back then you didn't think about it. But now it's an important part for me as well.
Yeah, I can relate to that, as well as I had a vintage blog, in the early days of blogging, and which was pretty big. And when it started, there was this new thing, like, what is this thing, the vintage blogs? And people were so confused and really like worried that it was conservative, which is laughable today, because now you can look back and see that all those like vintage blogging women were like the first sustainability warriors, or whatever you want to call them, that like reuse and just use old things. That was the first thing, and today it's completely normal. And today you would just say like, well, they care for the environment. So that has definitely changed since then.
Yeah. How about Justin? How do you find you have like a lengthy career in just making things by hand? Your family has been in that, and so it's like ingrown with who you are.
Yeah. Am I on big screen now? Am I on the big?
No, you're like in the middle.
And then the small.
Yeah.
It depends on which setting you want. So you can just choose the one you prefer, Kerstin, and that'll be good.
Right. I was thinking about like what to say about this, and I was always a kid who would be like, no, I'm not going to have a car when I grow up. I'm going to have a horse. And I was always the old-timey kid. And I've always been a sucker for authenticity and history. And I want things to be real. I want them to be real. I don't want the fake. And it's always been like that. I didn't want like fake. Anything. I wanted everything to be like sharp and real, and that's kind of what I saw when I found like the heritage denim scene. Because denim to me before that was just like the clothing worn by the bullies. I was a goth kid, so I did not wear denim, and I wore like my own homemade woolen black dresses, so I would never ever have put on a pair of jeans. Might have had, but and then when I kind of understood that, there's a whole scene of people who are actually caring about quality and history and actually the craft behind the jeans. When I stepped into the denim scene, I found people who were talking about weaving and people talking about dyeing and the stuff that I was talking to my craft friends about, but on a whole other in a whole other context, which was really lively and spirited, because the problem with the Swedish craft scene and the craft scene in general is that it's this really big and heavy machinery, is really stagnant, and everybody's like, no one cares about this stuff anymore. And then I step into a denim store and there's like 5 guys standing there talking about weaving, like, yeah, but how does this work? And I found like that there was so much energy in there, and just wanted to tap into that.
Thanks. Cool. On a kind of like on a bridge from what we've been talking, how do you guys have, like, Miriam has done a collaboration collection with Indigofera. Harmony has been making like a custom, if I don't remember wrong, custom thing with a brand that I just like, poof, it disappeared, or a company. And like Kerstin, you as a store owner have done collaborations with brands. So how important would you say that the relationship between a brand and a store or a vendor is? Would you rather buy, like Harmony, you kind of tapped into this a little bit, but how important would you say that the relationship is? Does it need to be a close relationship for you to make a decision to buy from a certain brand? Or as a customer too, but obviously we have store owners here, so if you don't, like, yeah, what Harmony said, for you, sustainability has to be a really big part of it. So if you can't kind of stand behind a brand that you're selling, do you even want to buy it, even though if they would have some products that you find interesting?
I'm not going to name names, but there are some brands that really pissed me off. We've been talking about this a lot. And they make nice stuff, but they also make some stuff that's really offensive to me. And I have I have people coming into the store like, oh, you should really carry this brand. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, I'm not gonna. I can see that they're making nice things, but they're also pissing me off. So it's a no deal. We also have other brands that we keep buying. And Douglas and I will just be sitting there like, we're not going to sell this. This is not going to sell. We're buying it anyway because we really like this guy. Yeah, this is a good guy. And Stockholm needs this stuff. They just don't know it.
Yeah. What about Harmony?
I think also as a vintage seller, the person that sells it is also very important. So not just the brands. If I really dislike a certain person, I will not buy from them. And then again, if you really like a person, like Kerstin says, you will buy more from them, also wholesale. And that for me is also important, that you're helping out another small business owner or another small brand. And then in relation to brands, they just have to have some sustainable aspect for me. Personally, I mainly buy vintage though, because I'm always after the original piece rather than a reproduction of it. So yeah, that's in short how it goes for me with the store.
Cool, thanks. How about Miriam? When you started to think a women's collection, was Indigofera the #1 brand for you, or was the relationship that you had with them the reason that you wanted to pursue it more?
Well, it was more the case of that I didn't really think to do it with anyone else. It was just like I was going to Second Sunrise for years and just like drooling over all the amazing garments in there, but there was nothing that I could wear because I don't want a shirt that goes down to my knees, and I don't want like straight jeans that'll be a huge gap in my back because there's no room for waist and hips. So I would just go there and be like, nope, no women's wear this time either. And like, just that was the case for a couple of years. And then I started to like know the guys of Indigo Fear a little bit, and I worked on that for a couple of years. And finally they took up on my idea. But it was actually from the beginning. So they make blankets as well. And that was my initial idea, was to design a collection of blankets, since I I cannot weave all the things. I don't have time to weave all the things I would like to weave. And it's an issue where the things I make also become quite expensive, since it's a very tedious, slow work. And I want to make something that can be purchased by more people. And what they do with their blankets is that they're made in Norway in a really, really good way. And it's Norwegian wool. It's like the sheep are in Norway. It's cut in Norway. It's dyed and spun into yarn in Norway, and then also woven and finished in Norway. So that was like the closest, like from my loom to a bigger scale, that's like the closest distance I could go and still get so much more. So that was my initial plan, and that's what I wanted to make. I could never, like Harmony also said, that I could never put my name on something that's not like compatible with what I do otherwise. And it's the same with the garments, that it's so hard to find. Like, I wish I could also wear just original pieces, but in my daily work in the studio, it's kind of wearing them out. And I don't, like, I've been a student and a freelancing artist for years. I don't have the budget for that. So I also wanted to recreate those special, like very, very casual garments that men can find very easily, not in only in Indigo Fear, but in many, many brands. Not even in only the heritage world, but in like mainstream fashion, you can find some like pretty good garments sometimes. But on the women's side, it would always be like some frills, or like a shirt wouldn't be buttoned up more than like here, and nothing was good enough and not in quality that's pleasing compared to the vintage pieces, because naturally they all are always the best ones, since they're still lasting. So yeah, I think it was Indigo Fear because they really have that quality, and they have the like spirit that I like. And I'm happy they decided to go for a women's line. And I hope we'll do more. We'll see.
You want to tell just a little bit of what pieces you've designed together with Åsa Norin, which is she's the amazing
pattern constructor.
Yeah.
She likes to be a little bit behind, but she's an amazing pattern constructor, and I would not have made it without her, because she's been great at the details.
So here,
but yeah, it's
so here we have two, which we've talked about in the first women's hang, was that women have to be designed in clothing, especially denim for men, for women, because there are issues that are different, and rarely men are able to design models that work for our bodies.
Yeah.
So here we have two different like bodies on women designing models that work on most.
Yeah, and I've been we've been discussing this a lot, and I've been taking a lot of reference from like modern brands of like both from everything. Like there's been a bit of a workwear trend, so like Carlsen and other stores and that H&M based brands having a lot of like workwear-ish clothing, and I like took a lot of pictures of those and showed them to Mats and Pontus and be like, look at those lines. Like these are still completely straight lines. There's no point in making, to me, women's wear, heritage, whatever you want to call it, when it's still like completely straight, because then you can just go, like, if you have a body that suits that, you can just go for the menswear and buy that. But like, I'm short, I'm curvy, I have a big ass. I need something that like hugs my waist and allows my ass to have a comfortable room. And they were very open about this, that like, we don't do this because we don't know how to do that. So that's why we haven't done it. And I appreciated that they were so straightforward that like, you get that knowledge, so do that. And like you said, together with Åsa Norin. The pattern maker's name is Åsa Norin. She's great.
I can write it down for you.
But yeah, the collection is 2 pairs of pants. So it's one denim and one in their duck canvas. So they're a very, very, very classic pair of side-zipped 50s style jeans. And then there's a flannel shirt that's very close to their dollard shirt, but scaled down. Like it's the exact same shirt, but just scaled down and slightly different proportions so that like I can wear it without it coming to my knees.
Yeah.
And then there's a blanket jacket that's really cool. With handmade, there's a fringe on it that I made. So I'm making them by hand for all the jackets. And then there are 2 blankets. And the whole collection is inspired by the high coasts of my home areas of Sweden. So the colors come from there and like the inspiration and feeling in the patterns. And then the garments are just like what I want to wear in my daily work in the studio. Oh, there's a dress as well. I forgot. As a wrap dress or like an artist's cover dress, you can wear as a dress or a protective garment. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And you should obviously follow Miriam. In the end, we're going to tell you the websites and Instagram names so you can start following everyone. And especially this one, it's really exciting to have a women's collection done in a way that we're almost expected these days to have men's stuff.
Yeah. And I should add, as we're talking about denim, that me and Åsa, we have several meetings and hours behind us of measuring our favorite vintage pair of jeans to find some sort of perfect solution.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't easy, I would say. But in the end, we came up with something that, like, she's much taller than me. She has slightly different body shape, and we can actually wear the same size now in those jeans we made, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because we are very different body types. So that's nice. And it launches on September 24th.
Good. That was my second question.
Yes.
Next question. Good. So you actually came by a thing that I wanted to talk to you guys. I'm gonna say it as bluntly as I can. Do we find that the denim world is elitist in a way that the models of denim are extremely expensive sometimes? Is it easy way to get in? Like you were saying that when you were a student, or if you work in just a regular job where you don't get that much money, or like a regular paycheck these days, is it easy to find models that you can actually wear? Are there models for women in this case? Or can we see the price and make it make sense for us? Do you want to get into this, Justin?
Sure. Well, I deal with this question a lot, but in the men's section in the store, because we have mostly men's clothing, and it's a hard discussion. I had a guy the other day who said, "Yeah, I really wish I could buy this, but and then he's a bit embarrassed, like, I don't have the money." And I'm like, you know what? For most of my life, I didn't have the money either. I probably don't have the money now if I would check my account. But yeah. I'm the store owner, so it's not a really big problem for me now. Yeah. But, I get a good discount. But I would say for me as a woman, I would probably not be able to go out there and buy a pair of jeans. Also because I don't like buying pants. I don't like going to stores and trying things on. And when I did it before I got into like the denim business, I would just go somewhere and be like, can you just give me something that will fit the bottom part of my body, and then can I please leave? And I think that that combined with the prices being pretty high makes it rather tough to buy women's denim today. What I flatter myself to think is that we are a pretty good store to do it in, because we try to keep the ambiance, or the feeling of the store very calm and pretty personal, and not push people like, you should try this, and just be like, do you want to try it, or do you not want to try it? Do you want a cup of coffee, or do you just want to browse? And just make people feel at home. And we do. People generally don't just go into our store and pick something from the shelf. We do like a consultation with them. We're based on a pretty like far off street, so we don't have a lot of people in the store at the same time. So we generally are able to just meet people, talk to them a one-on-one, and ask like, what do you need? What do you want your jeans to do for you? And then we can select some styles for them that they can try on. And that's something I think. I mean, a good friend in the buying on the buying day is something I think that everybody wants when you're buying denim. Like somebody who will say, "Oh yeah, okay, so you want them to be slim but not too slim, and you don't want them to pinch you there, but you want some room there. Okay, well then I know the perfect model for you." Yeah. But then I always wish that we could offer more accessible prices to people, but then we would have to go down in the quality, and that's something that we're just not willing to do. So what we do instead is that we sell secondhand jeans as well. When people come in and say, "Oh yeah, but the price is too high," especially Douglas, whom I work with, he is like a mastermind. He knows all the secondhand jeans we have in the store. He knows them. He knows like what we have in which sizes. So he can just go grab like, "Yeah, but we have one of these." Well, I will be like, "Let me just flip through maybe I have something." And that's a really nice way of getting around that problem of the pricing, I think, because then we can sell them at maybe half the price of a pair of new jeans.
Yeah. And in my work, what you were saying, that one of the main things I think for all of us is that when you go to a store, you don't have to feel intimidated by what's going on around you, because a lot of heritage stores, they tend to be fairly intimidating, especially if you walk in there as a woman, when most of the employees are men. We just happen to be one of the very few women in the industry who work in a store who are able to be there as a face. Not that we're not intimidating sometimes, but I think the main thing is that whoever walks in the store or the room has to feel that they're equally good, no matter if they know what they come to look or what their price point is. One of the main things is to, like you said, to ask questions to get where it could be the right spot, and to make them feel like they're very much welcome, even when they don't buy something. And just to have,
or like with the Finnish people, like they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
The Finnish people come in and they're like, "Hey," and then they just, and you're like, "Okay, you hang out over there, and that's where you're comfortable."
Yep. They've probably been most of my customers. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of in my workplace, I've gotten a lot of new younger customers, and it can be so nerve-wracking to come into stores like where we work. And one of the main things for me is always to make them feel super comfortable. They don't need to know everything, because denim stores easily can feel, like I said, elitist. The denim forums and everything, it's just like, you have to have this and you have to do it this way. And there's like crazy amount of rules, but do they really apply? Do they go with everything? Everybody should wear and work their denim whatever way they feel comfortable. And I have to answer questions too many times that, okay, so I read from the internet, the devil's advocate, the internet, that I have to do it this way. And the main thing for me is always like, no, it's a garment that you wear the way you want to wear it. And when it's dirty, you wash it. And obviously there's going to be people now saying that that's the wrong way to do it because there are rules. But I think we have to lower the level a little bit. And when it comes to the pricing, one of the biggest questions that I've learned, and one of the most important, is that I usually ask, did you have a budget in mind? So that I don't say or offer something that is way over their budget and make them feel even worse.
Yeah, and I
yeah, please.
I think it's a little bit different for me when like with the Indigo Fair collection, that what will help me, I think, and people who follow me and who are interested in buying these garments, they're not necessarily from a denim point of view, but more just like a vintage or a general, I like what you do and I think this is great, I want to buy them. And I think for me, it'll help to, like, it's very much, it is my collection and it's made by my persona. And like, I'm imagining that I will do, because with the jeans, they will be like, they're washed when they come to store, but they will be a little bit sturdy in the beginning. And like, not everyone are used to the side zipped thing, if you're not from a vintage perspective. And like, I'm probably going to do some sort of like, this is how they'll look when you put them on the first time on my Instagram, like in stories or something. And like, it'll be a little wiggly woggly at first, but that's the way it's supposed to be. And then when you wash them, they'll be like this, and that will be a pair that I have worn for a while, so I can show them like, this is how it'll end up, because I also want them to feel safe when they purchase the pants, that it will fit you, but it will be a little weird in the beginning. Because that's something that I feel is very like, if this is like 2,000 or 3,000 Swedish kronors to purchase, how will I know it will fit me if it doesn't fit me correctly right now?
Yeah.
And that's something that, I'm like prepared to answer that question. And I want to be as clear as possible with that. Yeah. And I think social media is a great way of doing that, to just reach out and show very hands-on, like, well, this is how you put them on.
How about Harmony? How do you find the pricing? Obviously, we have to remember that good vintage isn't cheap either.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Depending obviously on the product, but a good, well-made vintage is usually not the cheapest either. So you have to.
Not nowadays, no. I remember when I went to the charity shops and I got like 50 garments for 20 kronors, so that's like $2.
But how do you see it, Harmony? How the pricing of what we wear, what we want to wear, and how does it? You have brands, sustainable, really nice brands at your store. I bought a shirt from you from Kings of Indigo, which is like my favorite, absolute favorite. I wouldn't be able to buy it on a normal price just because like I don't have the biggest salary, but I was lucky enough to find it on discount and be able to support you. How do you find where it feels good when it comes to pricing and good quality pieces?
Yeah, well, at first I do try to offer vintage at different price points, but then again, pretty much everything in the store is handpicked, so each item is unique in its own way, and a lot of them are collectible pieces with a certain price point. But I think it's very important, Miriam touched this already as well, to educate people. Not only about the vintage fits and how something is supposed to fit your body, but also why something has a certain price point and why it is worth paying that amount of money.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it's an investment piece. It's something you should cherish and wear for the rest of your life instead of buying a new pair of jeans each season. So that is very important for me. Educates people. And sometimes people come in, they don't know nothing about denim or vintage, but they're very eager to learn it. And that's very nice. I love doing that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things when you can have an open and gentle conversation with your customer about why something costs the price that it does. Like Miriam said, we who work in this don't even have the money to buy some of the stuff that we would maybe want to. So there is kind of like obviously it's a conversation that needs to be talked more. It's hard to like squeeze in here, but to make the industry more accessible in a way to more people and for more people to be able to buy quality pieces, we can't just also expect people to save up for however months they need to be able to buy something that would be good quality. So it's a conundrum of what is the right way to do it, and I think it's something that needs to be also taught more. Justin,
I just wanna pitch in and say something that we're talking about in the store a lot, like in the level that we're working, like in the level that my store is working, and with the small Japanese brands that we're working with. I just like to say there are very few people getting rich in the denim industry. We're always saying, like, when people are like, oh, but these jeans are so expensive. Yeah, they're made by Japanese people who got paid. And then they're shipped over here. And me and Douglas are also getting paid. And that's like, it's not, I don't think that the guys at TCB, I don't think that they live in a mansion, you know. These guys are not like riding around in cat-shaped Ferraris, even though I wish they were, because that would be good for them. There's, I mean, apart from like Levi's, which is, don't get me started, but like the small brands that we really appreciate working with, none of them, as in my perception, is like making big bucks from this business, and
usually the makers don't.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's something that you're not paying for a brand here. We don't sell brands that are like super hyped in our store, because I just think that's a bit embarrassing. So you're actually paying for the quality and for the people who made it to get a livable salary. And when you start having that discussion with people, there are very few people who don't understand that.
So basically, now we're rounded up back to the importance of a relationship with a brand who you either want to buy as a store or as a customer. So you do want to rather pay a little bit more for something that you know that is well made, good quality, and then that the people who make it actually get paid for making it, not just, like you said, it's not like a fashion's sake, it's actual making a living. And a lot of people forget that makers, obviously, personally, I'm not a maker, but we have two of them here. Rarely people understand the amount of work that goes into from an idea to the end product. And that was the second, we still have good amount of time. That was the second or fourth thing that I wanted to talk to you about. What is the process and how long can it take? And what are the things or issues that can be inside of that process?
Should I go?
Yeah.
like the process of a collaboration in my case.
For example, yeah.
I find actually that the communication is the biggest part. Like I'm telling Mirka a lot of times, like hell is other people. I love other people, but also like the communication chains between different groups of people, different people, and people with different schedules and have different ideas of what you're doing. That's the thing that I find that takes the most time, and I really I'm like on a learning path of accepting that you actually have to wait for other people, and you have to give them the time that they need, and you have to accept that they can't do the stuff that you would do in the time that you would do it because they're not you. That's actually the biggest struggle I find, and I wish I could just like take the people I'm collaborating with and just like sit down and merge my brain with them, and then we can just be like this 8-armed octopus who just does denim, you know, like tuck, 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 tuck. But I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting in this process of the Indigo Fera collection that it's been going on for 1.5 years. And now it's like, finally, it's out.
Yeah.
And I would have wanted to tell people about it a little earlier, but yeah, we had different opinions there. But it was interesting to me, as my work is usually very slow and tedious. But it's actually it's still faster than this process, I would say. I mean, I can work on a piece for 2 months, and that's a long time to sit and work on one single piece. But this has been a very interesting and good experience in learning more about the industrial process. And yeah, it's not always better to do something in an industrial way. Hand weaving is still a lot easier, I would say, because then I can just take all the decisions right away by myself, like Kerstin said. But now you have to like wait for samples, and
But then it's not a collaboration if you do it all yourself. So
exactly, yeah. But it's been it's been super fun, and I learned so much. And I would like to do it again or more. But it's also given me a good perspective back to my own work in the loom, that it's not actually that slow either.
Thanks. Harmony, do you have, so I'm sorry, was it with Sortie Enterprises that you did, you were able to do something, a piece of clothing just for yourself?
Yeah. Actually, I did 2 collaborations with them. Firstly, they made a custom piece that you would design. I actually made a denim Chimayo lookalike jacket. And then secondly, we did a full outfit with a really nice group of women. Which was the nicest part of it all, just to connect with other women in the industry. We went to see their factory in Turkey. And it just reminds me again that I should do these things more often, because they're just so much fun, collaborations. Just don't have the amount of time that I would like. Also running the store, and but yeah, I'm working on a few things right now. I'm working on a neighborhood blueprint map, for instance. I'm doing custom jackets for a new to open restaurant in Finland, actually.
I might know where you're talking about, but let's keep that under still a little bit more.
But yeah, I'm always very open to connect with other people and work together on collaborations. So if anyone has any ideas, just hit me up and we'll make something work.
So usually what we came up with here is usually the lack of time, the waiting time and then waiting to get it sorted time. So it all kind of connects to the communication and how that goes, and how you're able to, like Justin said, how to like get your thoughts from your brain to theirs and really make it happen. Because we've spoken about this. There's so it's like only with the Indigo Fair collaboration, it took you a year and a half to get it from the initial end idea to the end product.
Yeah, and that was still with like several years before that as well, of just like trying to plant the little seed of this idea. And
so
like
it's a long process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it go the same way when you're making a book? Because there's two women here who've done pretty amazing books.
Miriam, you go first.
Yeah. Well, actually, I made 2 books as well, but the first one was in baking, so that was a previous career of mine. But in that time, I was contacted by the company or the publisher. And so I still had that contact for this other book I made, and we presented the idea. But it was also funny, actually, because me and my colleague Ariana, we were so prepared. We had this like little PowerPoint presentation, and we had a very sorted like plan on how to present this idea of making a new book on hand weaving on a pretty major publisher label. And they were like, wow, very prepared. And I think that's the like the thing you always have, or I should probably speak for myself in this case, but I think you might agree that you're like in this world or when everything you want to do something as a maker on your own in a field that's not mainstream, or it's not usually women or whatever, that you're like, I'm going to be so prepared. You will not have a fucking chance to stand against this. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. And people are like not used to that, because people usually, I don't know, they just come in and like, yeah, I want to make a book. I think it's going to be about weaving. Are you on it? Maybe. And I think that might be, I'm so used to just having like pumping up so much effort. And I think I like that. I like being prepared so that people, when they work with me, they know I will not be like, oh, I forgot about this. I think Kerstin, you're a bit the same. So I think both of us, maybe when doing the books, we were just like, we're going to do this, and we did it. But yeah, of course, it's a long process as well. It's usually a year. It's like slow and fast at the same time. You have to do a very much in a short amount of time, but it's, before publishing, it's still at least a year.
Yeah. How about you, Justin?
Well, we were kind of the people Miriam talked about. Douglas got a message from one of Sweden's biggest publishers saying like, you want to come and talk about Indigo with us? And he was like, yeah, I'll bring my friend Kerstin as well. And we sat there in their office, and they're like, okay, so you want to write a book? And we were like, write a book? I don't know. Looking at Douglas like, do you know how to write a book? And he was like, no. But then we sort of just accepted, because you accept if you get that offer. And then it was just like, go. And I turn into a sort of like crusader in these moments, because we had a year to do it. And I will just be like, eyes on the prize and fuck everything else, which is really bad, because I tend to not prioritize anything else. I just get the job done. But about a year from getting the offer, I've done 2 books. Both of them were in about a year of production time. Usually when you write a book, you don't get like handpicked by a publisher like we did. Usually you write a script, and then you send it to a publisher, and they say yes or no, and then you start producing the book. And I don't know about the lead times on that. I mean, very many people probably have like book manuscripts lying around that they've been working on forever. And to me, it's been, I don't think I would be able to finish either of the books without this very clear deadline. So that's been very helpful actually to know. And then it's always like, you can always push the deadline. You can always, I think I've done it. I think I did it with both books. Just told them like, no, the manuscript is not done. You'll get it in 2 weeks. And they're like, we need it now. And I'm like, you're not getting it now. Because it needs to be. But anyway, when it's like publication in October, then it's publication in October. So yeah. That's been really helpful.
Yeah, this was actually a really good segue to something that I wanted to ask you, because we have like amazing, strong, knowledgeable, skillful women here. Do you feel like Miriam, you were saying that you had like everything done, so people won't be able to say no? So you were basically surprising them in a way that there's no way for a no. Do you feel in our industry, or when you're a maker, that as a woman you have to be overly prepared or very much like sure of what you want to do next to a man? We have a few minutes for a very small question.
Yeah. I would say definitely yes to that. That's my experience. And yeah, I had a very good relation with Mats and Pontus of Indigo Fira, and it's been a super good collaboration. And but still, like, I would not come to a meeting, and maybe I don't know what it would be like if I didn't show up super prepared. But for me, it's like I'm small, like I'm short. And I always feel like I have to, and I'm also like the youngest of 4 siblings, so I guess I'm like always used to be like show up for myself. So I don't know what it would be like if I didn't, but still, I've always felt like that is what has given me the results.
Yeah. How about Justin or Harmony? Do you feel like you have to work harder to make yourself seen?
I'll just be really quick. Actually, I don't feel that. I feel like I'm practicing not being prepared, because when I come into a group of men who I'm going to work with, and none of them are prepared, and I'm like, look at my spreadsheet. A really weird balance arises, and now I'm actually practicing being like, yeah, good idea. Sure, being chill is really hard, but I'm trying.
How about Harmony?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm running my own shop, but you deal with other people, of course. Yeah, I don't know. I just I'm always busy, always following what I love doing, and not really worry with the aspect of having to work harder as a woman. I think it's not something that is on my mind, actually.
Yeah. And in the end, yeah, please.
I think also for me, it's a little different when, as I work as a weaver, most people don't have the image of a person who works with a loom is like their grandmother making little tablecloths. So I also have that sort of up against me. So I always have to like prove them wrong about what a weaver is today. But I think if you're like in the store, it's a very powerful environment where you're like, this is my store, and you're coming in here and everyone can see it's obviously very cool and it has a lot of cool stuff in it. So I can imagine that it's like another base of, just, of course, it's a space where you can just feel like you don't have to do that.
Yeah. And in the end, I think we all agree that no matter our gender, we see ourselves as just who we are and skillful, and we know what we're doing, and that's basically only thing that we want. So we don't want to be seen as, oh, they're women and they know something. We do want to be seen as just professionals doing what we know best to do. and that's the main point. We have 3 minutes left. Would you like to share some, if you have a website or an Instagram that you are okay to share to the listeners if they want to follow you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, so you can, if you want to check into my Instagram, it's Miriam Etel. I can write that in the chat as well. We'll be dropping the next teaser picture of the collection tonight, so you don't want to miss that.
And that was with Indigo Farah, if somebody hasn't heard that. So please follow, obviously, first Miriam, then Indigo Farah, but both of them are okay. Harmony?
Yes.
Harmony, do you want to share your Instagram?
Yeah, so I have 2 handles. One is just my name, which you will find in my video screen, I think.
Yep.
And the other is my store account, which is CKX Studio.
And that is in Amsterdam for those when we are allowed to travel again. So please go there, join. And Kerstin, we still have 2 minutes. So
my Instagram, my personal is Kerstin.Neumüller. Is my first name dot last name. And then the second sunrise _ STHLM is on Instagram, and the second sunrise.se is the web shop, which also has a blog section, and it's pretty cool, so you should check it out.
You should definitely. And yeah, so Second Sunrise is in Stockholm. So again, when you're able to travel, please go and visit. We have 2 minutes. If somebody has a question, 1 minute. So a very, very quick question is still able to take in.
Are you wearing pants?
Yes, but not jeans. Sorry, guys. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming and listening to us. Please join in to the next one, which I'm not sure which it is. Sorry. The Swedish guys are waving at us. But yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to the guests for your time.
For inviting us, Mirka.
Thank you so much. It was really good.
Good. Okay. Have a great day or good night, wherever you are. Thanks.
Thanks so much, guys. That was amazing. And I'm super glad I got to hear from you guys, because I've been watching you all on Instagram. So it's nice to actually see you live for a change. So thanks so much for that. And if we could just have another shout out for the Swedes, because awesome, guys. Awesome. Nice to